Have you ever looked at history and seen a pattern? A chilling pattern that destroyed 3 major superpowers in the last 500 years. And today, in 2025, the United States is following that exact same pattern, stage by stage. It's like we're watching a rerun of a script that always ends in collapse. Let's travel back to 1590. Spain was the richest empire on earth. It controlled half the world's gold and silver. Its influence stretched across Europe, and its currency was the global standard. Yet, within just 80 years, Spain was bankrupt and would never regain its former glory. Fast forward to 1914. Britain was the largest empire in human history. The sun literally never set on its territories. The British pound was the world's reserve currency. In just 40 years, that colossal empire collapsed. Then, 1991, the Soviet Union, a nuclear superpower with global influence and satellites dotting the sky, all of it vanished in just 900 days. Not because of a war, but from an economic implosion. 3 times, 3 great superpowers collapsed in the exact same way. And here is what should terrify you. America has already completed 5 out of 7 stages of this pattern. It is moving down the same path as every superpower before it. In this video, we'll break down how superpowers collapse, why every single one believes it's different, and why the cold, hard math suggests that America's turn has now come. Before we dive into the pattern, you have to understand what imperial collapse really means. Forget the textbooks. Let's talk reality. Imperial collapse doesn't start with a bang, with war or a military defeat. It begins with something quieter, something internal: economic exhaustion. Superpowers expand far beyond their ability to sustain themselves. They build military bases in 150 countries. They fight wars on multiple fronts. They make promises they can no longer keep. At first, nobody notices the decline. The currency still works. The military still seems invincible. The government still appears to deliver on its promises. But behind the curtain, the entire structure is breaking down. Resources are being wasted. The country's ability to produce things shrinks. The smartest and most ambitious people start to leave. Then comes the acceleration. Allies begin to switch sides. Enemies start testing your boundaries. The status of your reserve currency begins to erode. Suddenly, the very things that once made you powerful become your greatest vulnerabilities. Your currency, once demanded by everyone, starts flooding back home, causing inflation. Your military, spread thin across the globe, becomes an unsustainable burden. Your promises, once seen as guarantees of your power, become empty words. This isn't just a theory. This is exactly what happened to Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union. Why? Because they all made the same decisions America is making today. They all believed their power was permanent. They all refused to accept reality until the collapse was undeniable. So, let's see how this happened 3 times in exactly the same way. Let's start with Spain. After Columbus discovered the Americas in 1492, Spain became the world's first truly global superpower. It conquered the vast Aztec and Inca empires, seizing the largest gold and silver mines the world had ever known. By 1550, Spanish ships were hauling 200 tons of silver back to Spain every single year. By 1600, that number doubled to 400 tons. Spain literally controlled Europe's money supply. The Spanish silver real became the global reserve currency. Everyone wanted it. And this is where the pattern begins. When a country controls the world's money, it starts to believe it is invincible. King Philip II, who ruled from 1556 to 1598, was the richest man on the planet. He poured that money into expanding the Spanish Empire, setting the stage for its downfall. Stage 1. Military overextension. Spain was fighting wars everywhere. They fought the Ottoman Empire in the Mediterranean, France and Italy in Europe, Protestant rebels in the Netherlands, and England's navy on the high seas, all while managing colonies in the Philippines and the Americas. By 1580, Spain had armies deployed on 4 continents. Half of all the money Spain brought in went directly to the military, and it still wasn't enough. This leads directly to stage 2, currency debasement. With taxes no longer covering the endless bills, Spain did what every failing empire does. It started cheating. They began mixing cheaper metals, like copper, into their pure silver coins. At first, a coin that was supposed to be pure silver became 50% copper, then 75%. The face value on the coin stayed the same, but its real value plummeted. By the year 1600, Spanish silver coins contained barely any actual silver. Merchants, who aren't stupid, stopped accepting them at face value. Prices for everything exploded across the empire. Which brings us to stage 3, the debt spiral. Spain started borrowing money from anyone willing to lend, mostly Italian and German bankers. In 1557, less than 20 years into King Philip's reign, Spain declared bankruptcy. It happened again in 1560, and again in 1575, and again in 1596. That's 4 national bankruptcies in just 40 years. Each time, the government promised reforms, and each time, they just kept borrowing more. Now for stage 4, and this is the part most people miss about Spain's collapse. Loss of productive capacity. All that gold and silver actually destroyed them. Think about it. Why would you bother farming when you can just import food? Why build your own ships when you can just buy them from someone else? Why innovate when all you need to do is spend the endless flow of silver? The Spanish elite began to see actual work and labor as beneath them. Manufacturing collapsed. Agriculture stalled. All that silver simply flowed out of Spain to pay for French wine, Italian silk, and other luxury goods. Spain became a highway for money, not a creator of wealth. By 1600, Spain produced almost nothing. It was entirely dependent on imports and the silver from its mines. So, when the mines started to slow down, the entire system fell apart. Finally, stage 5. Social decay. As the economy hollowed out, society began to rot from the inside. Crime skyrocketed. The streets of Madrid filled with beggars. The most productive and skilled people emigrated to places like France, England, and the Netherlands, where there were actual opportunities. Spain was left with a population of bureaucrats, soldiers, and priests. No one was creating wealth. Everyone was just consuming it. The end came swiftly. By 1640, Spain lost Portugal. By 1650, it lost the Netherlands. By 1700, the mighty Spanish Empire was just an empty shell. It looked big on the map, but it was economically dead. In less than a century, Spain fell from a global superpower to a second-rate power, and it never recovered. Today, Spain is a beautiful, cultured, pleasant European country. It is also, on the global stage, largely irrelevant. That is imperial collapse. Let's travel back to the year 1900. Britain stood as a colossus, the empire on which the sun never set. It ruled a quarter of the world's land and over 400 million people. The pound sterling was the undisputed global reserve currency. London was the financial heart of the world. To the British, this dominance felt permanent, a natural state of being. But the seeds of decline were already being sown. This brings us to the first stage of the cycle: military overextension. British forces were stretched thin across the globe, maintaining order and control in India, across Africa, the Middle East, China, the Pacific, and the Caribbean. This global policing was immensely expensive. Then, in 1914, the Great War erupted. Britain chose to fight, a decision that would lead it to the brink of bankruptcy. The war's price tag was a staggering $40 billion, which translates to over $1 trillion in today's money. To finance this, Britain borrowed heavily, primarily from a rising power across the Atlantic, the United States. By the end of the war in 1918, the world's creditor had become America's debtor. The financial dynamic of the world had shifted forever. The second stage was currency stress. The war had drained Britain's coffers, costing it half of its gold reserves. Despite this, the government desperately tried to maintain the pound's pre-war value, tying it to the gold standard at an unrealistic rate. This decision made British exports far too expensive on the global market. The backbone of the empire, its manufacturing sector, began to crumble under the pressure. Factories closed, and unemployment skyrocketed. The economic pain became unbearable. In 1931, Britain was forced to abandon the gold standard. The result was immediate and brutal. The pound plummeted by 25% overnight. The world's faith in sterling was shaken. Just as Britain was grappling with this economic turmoil, the world was plunged into darkness again. World War II arrived, marking the third stage, a debt explosion. Britain had no choice but to fight, spending another $120 billion it didn't have. By 1945, the nation's debt had ballooned to a level greater than its entire gross domestic product. Britain, alongside its allies, had won the war, but in doing so, it had lost its empire. The cost of victory was its global supremacy. The fourth stage was the inevitable loss of empire. The process began in 1947 with the independence of India, the crown jewel of the British Empire. This single event signaled the beginning of the end. One by one, colonies across the world demanded and received their independence. Within just 2 decades, the vast British Empire, built over centuries, had all but vanished. Finally, the fifth stage, currency decline. The pound, once the master of the financial universe, began a long, steady fall. From a value of over $4 in 1940, it has slid to around $1.27 today. A currency that once commanded global respect became merely a regional player. Britain, the great superpower, never recovered its former status. The empire was a memory. Now, let's turn our attention to another giant of the 20th century, the Soviet Union. After World War II, the USSR emerged as one of the world's 2 superpowers. It had nuclear weapons, it launched the first satellite, and its influence stretched across Eastern Europe. Its leaders genuinely believed that communism would ultimately bury capitalism. They, too, thought their power was destined to last. But the Soviet Union walked the same path. Stage 1. Military overexpenditure. An incredible 15 to 20% of the Soviet GDP was funneled into the military. They were locked in a global competition with the United States, trying to match them in every corner of the world: Afghanistan, Cuba, Vietnam, Syria, Africa. The economic burden of this global chess match became unsustainable. The system was cracking under the weight of its own military ambitions. This led directly to Stage 2, economic stagnation. By the 1970s, the Soviet command economy had ground to a halt. Growth flatlined. State-run factories were inefficient and produced shoddy goods. Collective farms failed to feed the population. Technologically, the USSR was falling further and further behind the West. The situation became so dire that by the 1980s, the once proud agricultural power was forced to import food to prevent widespread shortages. Stage 3 was a complete currency failure. The Soviet ruble was a currency in name only. It was not convertible and held no trust, not even among Soviet citizens themselves. To buy necessary goods from the West, the government had to use its reserves of gold and its revenue from oil exports. But in the mid-1980s, global oil prices collapsed. This was a catastrophic blow. The Soviet Union's main source of hard currency vanished, and with it, its ability to prop up its failing economy. The economic collapse triggered Stage 4, the loss of empire. The Soviet grip on Eastern Europe, held for over 40 years, began to slip. One by one, the satellite states broke free. The most symbolic moment came in 1989, when the Berlin Wall, the very icon of the Cold War division, came crashing down. The empire was dissolving in real time. The final act, Stage 5, was a total collapse. It came swiftly. On December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union officially ceased to exist. There was no Great War, no foreign invasion. It simply imploded from within, crushed by the weight of its own economic failures. The mighty superpower was gone. So, why are we looking at these histories? Because the same patterns, the same stages, appear to be playing out today with the current global superpower, the United States. Let's examine the evidence, following the same framework. Stage 1. Military overextension. The United States maintains over 750 military bases in more than 80 countries. Its annual military budget is a colossal $850 billion, more than the next 10 countries combined. This global military posture is an immense and continuous drain on the nation's resources. Stage 2. Currency debasement. Since 1971, when the US dollar was decoupled from gold, it has lost a staggering 98% of its purchasing power. What used to cost $1 now costs 50. This is the quiet, insidious erosion of wealth through inflation, a direct result of printing money to cover expenses. Stage 3. The debt spiral. The US national debt has exploded to over $36 trillion. This number is so large it's almost incomprehensible. Even more alarming, the interest payments on this debt alone now cost the American taxpayer over $1 trillion every single year. This is money that produces nothing. It's simply the cost of past spending. It's a debt trap, and the hole is getting deeper. Stage 4. The loss of production. For decades, America has been outsourcing its manufacturing base. The logic was simple. Cheaper labor elsewhere meant higher profits. But the long-term consequence is a hollowing out of the industrial heartland and a critical dependence on other countries, especially China, for essential goods. From electronics to pharmaceuticals, America has become an import-dependent nation. Stage 5. Social decay. The internal fabric of the country shows signs of fraying. Rising crime rates, a growing homelessness crisis, a tragic surge in drug overdose deaths, and intense political polarization are all symptoms of a society under immense stress. When the economic foundations are weak, social cohesion often begins to break down. And now, we see Stage 6 beginning to emerge. The decline of the reserve currency. The US dollar has been the world's reserve currency since the end of World War II. This has given America an exorbitant privilege. But other countries are now actively seeking alternatives. The BRICS nations Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are exploring trade in their own currencies. Central banks around the world are buying gold at a record pace. The move away from the dollar is no longer a theoretical discussion. It's happening. This brings us to the final, sobering stage, a sudden collapse. History shows that the end doesn't come gradually. It's not a gentle, slow decline. It's often fast, brutal, and unexpected by the majority of the population. Every empire in history believed it was different, that it was the exception to the rule. But the pattern doesn't care about feelings of expansionism. The pattern is mathematical. It's a sequence of cause and effect. The only real question is not if, but when. Maybe it's 10 years away. Maybe it's 5. Maybe it's even less. But the trajectory is clear. The collapse is coming, and history suggests it will not be slow. If you found this analysis valuable, consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Take care, and thanks for watching.